Good. How are you?
Good. So how many Easter eggs are thrown in?
So far, just really one.
Really?
We have a test mention in episode 6. It's funny because I keep getting asked about Easter eggs, and I am less familiar with the details of the original series and the books than people might think. I mean, I watched it when I was a kid. I was 12 when the show started. I watched it and I loved it. And then I popped in a little bit to rewatch bits and pieces when I was writing the pilot, and I read the first book, but I'm not like, I wish I had a better memory. But yeah, I figured we had to name drop Tess, right?
Outside of the source material, as you mentioned already, what was some of the inspiration going in, like some
I love cowboys. I wanted to. Really for me, what it was I was wrapping up my run on the originals, and they came to me and said, would you be interested in revamping Roswell? And I said no. Because I didn't really want to do like a teen supernatural romance. But I owed Warner Brothers a pilot, so I wanted to go in and pitch them something. So Julie Pleck suggested that I go in and pitch them the version that I would want to do. So I made everybody grown up. First, I was kind of just really wanted to tell stories about what it feels like. I think that people talk about being on the cusp of adulthood as being 18. But in my experience, being on the cusp of adulthood is being 28. And maybe that's just a factor of being a millennial, but I think that it's that was when I really felt like I had like one foot in childhood and one foot in adulthood. And so I really wanted to tell that story. The influences that I was feeling at the time were, one, politics Twitter, which was, my whole entire life and continues to be my whole entire life. And two, a lot of I love murder. So a lot of like murder podcasts and murder documentaries. And I wanted to tell a small town murder mystery. And so when I went in to pitch Roswell, I was like, they're grown-ups, one's a cop, it's a small town murder mystery. Oh yeah, and also aliens. And they really liked it. And so we've got a lot of influences as far as, there's, I'm very influenced by sort of like old cowboy stuff and very classic sci-fi. What we're trying to do is like take sort of classic sci-fi ideas and then like flip them. So we're taking a look at like Body Snatchers and Stepford Wives and alien autopsies, and then we're like, how do we start make people think they know what we're about to do and then twist it. So it's been really fun.
How do you think this series is going to resonate with the original fans?
I hope it resonates well because I was an original fan. I really liked the show as a kid. One of my best friends in the world recently confessed to me that when she was a kid, she wrote like tons and tons of Roswell fan fiction, and I was like, Jesus, like this is a lot of pressure. Also, can you send it to me because I don't know what we're doing in episode 7. But I hope that they like it. I hope that it feels like it honors the feeling of the original show, and I think that what I was trying to do, when you're in the original show, to me, resonated so well because in high school, everybody feels alone and everybody feels like a freak. And so I wanted to take that and raise the stakes of it because in adulthood, particularly right now in this country, feeling alone and feeling like a person without a community means something different than it does in high school. The stakes are different, not necessarily higher, because what represents high stakes in high school is different from what's high stakes as an adult. But that's what I wanted to play with. And so I hope that people see the heart of the characters they loved so much, but don't go in expecting them to be the same. I don't think our versions of the characters are better or worse. They're really different. But God, I loved them, the characters that I watched when I was a kid, and I just I hope people feel like we're honoring it as opposed to trying to replace it or trying to step on it in any way.
So what's it been like as, a female showrunner with a strong, intelligent female lead? Has there been a lot of pressure with that sort of, within that, especially within the climate today?
No. Janine is brilliant and is so engaged, and Janine and Nathan have really been sort of partners for me in this process. We, during the pilot, had family dinners, and we would sit down, the four of us, with Julie Plec, and like really dig into the script. Like sit there, and I'm like crying about my daddy issues that I put into this scene, and then I'm like talking about my ex-boyfriend in this scene, and like really getting into the heart of what we're trying to do. And so I think that we have an intelligent female character, an intelligent female actress, an intelligent female showrunner, really great female directors, and what we're making is, I think, really good. And I don't think we need to feel like we're representing all women with it. I'm starting to feel like getting out of bed as a successful female in the morning is like an act of political protest in itself. And I don't need my show to be that, though I think it kind of is becoming it anyway. But no, I don't feel pressure when it comes to that, because I feel immensely supported by the people that I'm working with. And I think that we exist in a world in which that really tries to break down women's confidence. And I have just gotten to a point where I'm really confident in the work that I'm doing and the people that I've surrounded myself with, and I don't want to apologize for that.
How influenced are you by social media? Like
A lot.
really? Like
Oh my God, they took my phone, and I'm like, how are we going to look at Twitter right now? I'm very influenced by it because I like to... I should say not necessarily by like the fan aspect of it, but by the political aspect of it. I get into some of my most intelligent conversations on Twitter. Also some of my least intelligent, for sure. But I've learned a lot from, I think people like to put down social media and like to sort of like turn up their nose at millennials being on their phones all the time, but we've got an opportunity to hear stories from people across the world that we never would have been able to hear stories from, and engage with people that we never would be able to reach. So I think a lot in my writing about how Twitter is going to respond, because I think that Twitter has become sort of the like set of the checks and balances for art, and they will tell you if something's problematic, which is good. And I think that we're telling stories about race and immigration and sexuality and gender, and I think that we are definitely going to step into territory that is scary to step into. So I try to look at it from the perspective of Twitter a lot, and hope that I am telling stories that make people feel included. I was deeply, deeply affected a few years ago by the Bury Your Gays movement on Twitter, which I thought was so important and changed the way that we talk in writers' rooms, and changed the way that we talk about a character's fate, because that character becomes representative of something larger. And that also led me to really avoid tokenism on my show. We are talking a lot about Liz, who's a Latina, and she is the daughter of undocumented immigrants. She's not the only Latin character on the show. We've also got Michael Trevino, who plays Kyle Valenti, Michael played a white character on The Vampire Diaries, but Michael Trevino is 100% Mexican, and we now have another perspective of a family that did immigrate legally, and those perspectives are not necessarily the same on our show. So we're really trying to open up the world and include different points of view and tell stories that make people feel heard, and a lot of that influence comes from social media for me.
So, speaking of Vampire Diaries, what's like in store for the season? We've seen a lot of like old cast members from the Vampire Diaries, the originals, obviously.
Yes.
Will there be more of that?
I don't think so. It's been good. So Nathan and I worked together on the originals. Trevino I have known since at the very beginning of Vampire Diaries because I covered Vampire Diaries as a journalist, and I was so nervous on set the first day. And he came up and he was like, "Hey, you look nervous. I'm Michael Trevino," and I was like, "Huh." But we've been really good friends for like almost 10 years now. We were counting and we were like, "Oh crap." It's funny because we're right now shooting a flashback episode. And Trevino walks in all clean shaven and made up, and I was like, "Tyler Lockwood, how you been?" It's been wonderful having everybody, having Riley Vocal on board. She's become a very big part of the season. Paul Wesley is actually he's here. I had dinner with him last night, but we both flew from Santa Fe on the same day because he's directing for us right now. I feel incredibly lucky to have my Vampire Diaries family with me at all times. We really are still there for each other at crucial moments, but I think we have enough Vampire Diaries people on the show for right now. Though I will say, I really, really, really hope that someday Charles Michael Davis's schedule clears up and I get to work with him again, because I would really love to work with him forever until I die.
I'd love to see him.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.